Welcome everyone, my name's Kevin. I'm the Senior Horticulturalist here at the Greenery Garden Home in Heidelberg. And today's topic is on hydrangeas, that traditional Christmas plant which everybody loves. I have a collection of hydrangeas with me here today, and the colour range is improving every year. A traditional plant in many older gardens, but still a firm favourite with lots of different gardeners. Hydrangeas are one of those plants that are fantastic in cool shaded areas, and they're popular for their flowers, which are often used for table decorations at Christmas time, and they last for ages as a cut flower, or indeed if you leave them on the plant, they do last well into autumn in Melbourne, depending on the prevailing weather conditions. So where do you grow hydrangeas? They love cool semi-shaded areas. Not too dark a spot in the garden because it tends to interrupt their flowering. So where they get some filtered light and are protected from hot northerly winds and certainly hot summer sun. The name hydrangea means water loving, so the plant through those hotter days needs to be well irrigated. A mulch around the plant through the summer months will help retain moisture, and it also helps to keep the roots of the plant cooler. So what sort of varieties are available in hydrangeas? Well, there are the traditional ball types, which are sometimes called Mophead Hydrangeas. They get a full rounded ball type flower, and they're spectacular when they're in full flower and got all the flowers open on the plant. A lot of the ones I've got with me today are the first for the season. It's November in Melbourne, and we've just received our first delivery of the season for hydrangeas. So they're not quite fully open yet. The weather's been a bit cooler as well here in Melbourne, and that tends to slow them down a little bit with their flowering. The Mophead types come in a range of colours these days. So you can get pinks through variations of pink, red, even into plummy sort of burgundy type colours, blues and straight purples, which when mixed up in the garden look absolutely fantastic. Now the colours on the hydrangeas can change according to the soil type that they might be growing in, and there's some instances where hydrangeas change colour to accommodate the soil that they might be growing in. So you can buy products, if you like a particular colour in your hydrangea, you can buy colours or products to change the colours to maintain, if you wanted for instance pink varieties, you can get a pink solution which is diluted in water. You can get a bluing solution which also you dilute in water. So that helps to keep the colours that you may or may not like in the garden itself. The white hydrangeas, in any style, always stay white. They don't change colour. So if you were buying a white hydrangea, you are going to always have a white hydrangea. The other varieties that are very popular these days are what they call Lacecap Hydrangea, where the flower itself has a ring of florets around the outside with buds on the inside which tend not to open. It's mainly the outer petals which tend to have the colour in them, again in a range of different flower colours, and they're a little bit different from the normal hydrangea in their flower looks, but you treat them exactly the same way in what they like to grow. So you need to look out for all the different colours that are available these days. You can mix and match your colours. Some people like just to have one colour in the garden. Remember that they're suitable for growing in containers, providing you've got that cool sheltered spot in the garden. Some people even bring them indoors during the Christmas period to enjoy the flowers. You can cut the flowers, put them into water inside, and they'll last for a long time as well. They're very versatile plants. They are deciduous shrubs, so through the cooler months of the year, they tend to lose a lot of their foliage. And at that time, after flowering, you normally prune them back. There is a bit of a trick in pruning hydrangeas. It's not difficult to do. A lot of people are tempted to cut them very hard back all over the plant. And if you do that, it tends to discourage flowering for the following season. It's better to only prune back those stems that have produced flowers in the current season. Leave any stems that haven't flowered for that year, because they're the ones that are going to produce flowers for the following season. You normally prune back to 2 plump buds on the main stems. They're usually very easy to see when the plant is bare, and that helps to encourage the new growth in the following spring. It's a good idea to prune them every year. If you don't prune them, the plants can grow quite tall, and you'll find the flower heads will be smaller, and you may not get as many flowers as what you would, if you were pruning them every year. But don't feel tempted to cut them back really hard. All that tends to do is encourage the plant to produce long, sappy new growth without any flowers on it. So just remember that prune off any ones that have flowered this year, and then leave any that haven't. If the plants are particularly crowded, then you may need to remove some of those branches within the plant that are a bit congested. That tends to help to get some air around the plant and encourage light down into the centre of the plant where flowering is improved. Feeding is important, as is the watering. In the springtime, just a general fertiliser of any type for the garden is suitable. We have a range of all-purpose type plant foods here at the Greenery, and they're normally applied over the root system and watered in well, say early spring. That promotes growth, and it also helps promote flowers. There are high potassium type fertilisers which you can buy. They're generally soluble. Potassium helps to encourage better flowering in a whole range of plants, including hydrangeas. Through the hotter weather in Melbourne, as I mentioned, they love cool position in the garden, semi-shade, out of really hot sun. Regular deep waterings are important on those really hot days. If hydrangeas tend to dry out in the summer, then the leaves will burn and shrivel. And often at their peak time when they're flowering, they're using quite a lot of water. And if they go without on those hot days, then you'll be disappointed. The flowers will suffer and the leaves will burn. So regular checking on hot days. If we have a string of hot days, I'll be inclined to water every day, particularly if they're growing in pots. Make sure your pots are also protected from hot sun, and the plants will reward you with the flowers if you give them that sort of care. Another popular hydrangea which starts to flower at this time of the year in the gardens in Melbourne, what they call the oak leaf hydrangeas. Now, they look different to the traditional hydrangeas that we all know. Oak leaf hydrangea gets its name obviously because the leaves do look like an oak leaf. These again are deciduous shrubs, and in the autumn they have beautiful autumn tonings in their leaves, great colours, reds through burgundies, and do really well in even a sunny location in Melbourne, although they prefer to be protected from those extreme westerly aspects in the garden. But it's a good sort of contrasting foliage shrub. It does produce a flower. It's a different flower from the traditional hydrangea. Oak leaf hydrangeas have a white panicle type flower. It appears on the top of the plant in mass profusion and looks fantastic in full flower. The plants look absolutely terrific. But even when they're not flowering, the leaves are very attractive and make a good complementary plant in garden beds or indeed in containers. These do like a reasonable amount of water, like the normal hydrangeas. As I say, they're a little bit more sun tolerant, but they'll give you the added benefit of that spectacular autumn colour, which is a good contrast against, say, green plants in the garden in the autumn. So look out for those. That's what they call oak leaf hydrangea. I just wanted to mention a little bit about how to prune off the old flowers once they've finished. And it's a bit like deadheading any other flowering plant. If you've had the experience of deadheading roses, you would treat hydrangeas the same way. The flowers, I might add, on hydrangeas can last a very long time. So even once the full colour has finished, the flowers tend to fade, and often they go into very rich autumn type tones, even into greeny sort of tones as the flower ages. So it's worth leaving the flowers on the plant until they're totally withered, and that can be quite a few months into the season. Normally in Melbourne, the best time to prune is any time after those flowers have withered. It's generally late summer into autumn, and it's as simple as just cutting off the old flower head just to make the plant look a bit tidier. Now, at that stage, it's probably a little bit early to prune the plant as a hard winter prune. I'd be inclined to leave that until the weather gets a bit cooler, say June, July. But if you want to clean the old flower heads up once they're finished, there's no problem in removing those. Remembering that you've got a long flowering period and the flowers can even stay on the plant with some attractive colour. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this talk on hydrangeas and how to grow them in the gardens. Remember, if you've got any other queries, you're not sure about different things or particular problems you might be having with your hydrangeas, feel free to come into the store at any time and speak to our horticultural staff, who will be only too happy to help you. We're open 6.5 days a week, and we look forward to seeing you here in the store. Thanks again for watching.